While Zihao was quietly opening his eyes, his brain was still replaying the scene of staying up late last night and writing his code. The computer screen is filled with data from physical modeling, and half a cup of cold coffee is placed next to it. He remembered that he accidentally knocked down the water cup, and then the circuit was shorted, and a flash of electricity flashed, and then, he lay on the muddy land. What's the matter? Zihao stood up, surrounded by strange villages, old houses made of wooden heads, and there were a few people wearing long robes muttering something. He looked down and saw that he was wearing a coarse cloth dressed in gray, like a medieval farmer. Have you traveled through time? Zihao's mouth twitched. As a science and engineering otaku, he was not unfamiliar with this routine, but when it came to him, he still felt a bit ridiculous. He patted his brain and tried to recall more details. He found that there was a vague memory in his brain. He was the waste firewood in this village, he did not know magic, and was looked down upon. He still wanted to participate in a magic test today. Magic? Just kidding. Zihao muttered, stood up, and found that the people around him had begun to gather towards a square. He followed the crowd and saw a simple wooden platform in the middle of the building, and several old men in long robes were pointing at the point with a wooden stick. Hey, Wuchai Zihao, do you dare to come? Aren't you afraid of being disgusted again? A sarcastic voice came from the side. Zihao turned around and saw that it was a short and fat young man, full of mocking his face, and was still chewing something in his mouth. Brother, do we have a grudge? Zihao raised his eyebrows. It was obvious that this goods were here to find fault. Revenge? Ha, who will get a grudge against a waste that cannot be released by a fireball technique? The short and fat man laughed so hard that he leaned back and forth, and several villagers around him also burst into laughter. Zihao has gained his reputation and is unreasonable. He was flying in his brain and tried to figure out the logic of this world. Magic? It sounds mysterious, but he doubts that this thing may not be so magic. As a double education in physics and chemistry, he has instinctive doubts about anything that is not scientific. The trial begins. The first one, Zihao. An old man on the stage shouted loudly, with impatient voices in his voice. Zihao was stunned, and he didn't expect that he would be named the first one. He walked onto the stage slowly, and there was a burst of noise from the audience. Look, Wuchai is about to get out of trouble again. Last time he tried chanting a mantra, but he turned out to burn his pants, haha. Zihao had no expression on his face and was complaining in his heart, this group of people are really creative when they laugh at him. He stood in the center of the platform, and the old man next to him passed an old book with several lines of crooked words on it. Recite the spell and release the fireball to prove that you have magical potential. Otherwise, you will be out of the village. The old man snorted coldly, obviously without any hope. Zihao looked down and saw that the mantra was a few strange verses, which sounded like the middle two words, the spirit of fire, burn. He tried to read it, but nothing happened, and the laughter in the audience became even louder. Ha, it's really a waste. Even the simplest fireball technique can't be done. Do you want to be a magician? Zihao snaked his eyebrows, and suddenly a light flashed in his brain. Although he doesn't know magic, it doesn't mean he doesn't understand the principles. Doesn't fireballs sound like igniting combustible substances and then forming a flammable ball? Isn't this the combination of chemical reaction plus air dynamics? Bold, I lend you something. Zihao suddenly turned around, grinned at the old man next to him, and then took out a gadget from his broken pocket, a modern lighter. This was the cheap goods he brought with him before traveling through time, but he didn't expect to come with him. What are you fucking? The old man was stunned. Without reacting, Zihao had already pressed the lighter with a splash and a small cluster of flames shook out. He quickly grabbed a small pile of dry grass on the wooden platform next to him, and then ignited it and swung it hard. The dry grass burned in the air, forming a small fireball. Although it was not perfect, it actually flew out and hit the ground, burning a small piece of black hair. The whole scene was quiet in an instant. This is fireball art? The old man's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. What? Wu Chai really released a fireball? The people in the audience were also stupid. The short and fat man who was just laughing at him even louder, as if he could stuff a chicken egg into it. Zihao clapped his hands and opened his mouth calmly. As the fireball, it means that combustible matter oxidizes rapidly in the air, producing high-temperature light energy, and a certain amount of motion of the object line. In simple terms, it is the burning reaction and physical shot. Your mantra is probably just a psychological hint, and the real key is to ignite the fire. What reaction? The old man tied Baba, and he didn't understand at all. Simply put, I used science to simulate your magic. Zihao grinned and swayed the lighter. This thing is called a lighter, which is much better than your wooden stick. The people in the audience were very familiar with each other. Although they didn't understand what he was saying, the little fireball was indeed a practical move. When they looked at Zihao's eyes, they changed from ridicule to shock, and even felt a little scared. A little trick to carve the horns. A cold voice suddenly came from behind the crowd. Zihao looked in the sound and saw a young man wearing a purple robe walking out, full of arrogant faces and contempt in his eyes. Who are you? Zihao raised his eyebrows. This person was not very good at first sight. My name is Wan Lei, a magical genius. I heard that there was a firewood in the village that could set fireballs, so I came to see it. As a result, that's it? Wan Lei sneered and swept it with his hands. A fireball that was only 10 times larger than Zihao appeared empty, smashing the target far away, and directly blowing out a big pit. The people in the audience were shocked and slapped Majin. It's worthy of being young Master Wan Lei. This is the real fireball technique. Zihao narrowed his eyes and analyzed in his heart, the power of this group of fireballs is indeed great, but the principle should be similar, but the energy is more concentrated, and it may be because of the use of some kind of combustible substance or airflow control. It is interesting. Waiting, don't think that you can get carried away by making a small flame. A real magician can crush you with your hands. Wang Lei snorted coldly, turned away, leaving behind a provocative back. Zihao has gained his reputation, it's nothing. He was about to step down when he heard a crisp sound from the side. Hey, Wu Chai, what kind of ghost thing are you just now? Still scientific? I haven't heard it. When Zihao turned around, he saw that he was a girl wearing a long blue robe. She had a pretty face and a sense of arrogance between her eyebrows and eyes. She held her chest with her hands in her eyes full of disgust, but she was also confused and curious. Who are you? Zihao asked. Me? Lin Shaoqing, I'm even more convinced of your magic disciple. But I'm not willing to tell you. It was the village chief who forced me to break the task. Lin Shaoqing snorted, his mouth full of disdain, but his eyes secretly glanced at the lighter in Zihao's hand. Oh, then you are so unlucky. I'm so tired. Zihao deliberately talked and shook the lighter. Want to see this? I won't give it to you. Who wants to see it? I'm not interested in this kind of broken thing. Lin Shaoqing turned her face and turned her head, but she didn't leave. The tip of her feet moved towards Zihao unconsciously. Zihao is so happy. This girl is a typical example of right and wrong. He deliberately put the lighter in his pocket, turned around and left. Okay, I'll go back first if I have nothing to do. Hey! You wait. Lin Shaoqing was anxious and caught up with him several times. I don't want to see your broken things. I'm afraid that you will be alone and cause trouble to the village. Do you understand? Oh, I understand, you are kind-hearted. Zihao held back his smile and pointed a little. Who is kind? Don't be too affectionate. Lin Shaoqing glared at him bulgingly, but he was still following him, muttering constantly, what a waste of firewood, you can't walk smoothly, what if you fall? Zihao heard her thoughts and felt warm. Although this girl has a stubborn mouth, she obviously has a sharp mouth and a sturdy heart. He stopped and turned his head and said seriously, thank you, Shaoqing. Although you don't agree, I know you have good intentions. Who is kind? Young man said nothing. Lin Shaoqing's face turned red in an instant, and she stomped her feet. I just don't want to let the village lose people. Humph. Zihao smiled and stopped teasing her. He looked at the direction where Wang Lei left from far away, and his eyes sank. That magical tyrant obviously won't let him go easily. And the magic of this world is far more than that simple on the surface. Qing, do you know the curse of the fireball arts? Why can it burn air? Zihao suddenly asked. What? Light up the air? What a mess. The mantra is a mantra, so why not that much? Lin Xiaoqing rolled her eyes, obviously thinking that his problem was stupid. Zihao touched his chin and stopped asking. He had a big conjecture in his mind. The magic of this world is probably just another manifestation of scientific phenomena. And he, as a science and engineering man who travels through time, may be able to use science to completely overturn the understanding of this world. Let's go, Xiaoqing. Let's go back and study, maybe I can come up with something better than fireball. Zihao grinned and made a move. Research? You are the only one? I don't believe it. Lin Xiaoqing disliked her, but she still followed her with a trace of expectation in her eyes. Zihao looked at her back and made up his mind. Whether it was magic or the nobles, he had to use science to prove himself step by step. This world must be transformed by his arrival. The number of words in this chapter, about 3,750 words. When Zihao returned to his old wooden house, it was already dark. He sat on the hard wooden bed, took out the lighter and played with it. His brain was full of what he was doing today on the trial site. Especially Wang Lei's magical family, the gauntlet in his eyes made him a little unhappy. Hey, Wu Chai, why are you stupid? You don't really think that you will become a magician by putting a small flame, right? Lin Xiaoqing pushed in, holding a piece of dry rice in her hand, and still had the disgusting words on her mouth. Qing, are you caring about me or looking for trouble again? Zihao raised his eyebrows and deliberately teased her. Concern? Go dreaming. I'm just afraid that you will die of a dying house. If you are tired, I will be beaten by the village chief. Lin Xiaoqing snorted, put the basket on the table, and turned her head and wanted to leave, but her steps were slow, as if she was waiting for something. Zihao was happy, got up, took out a piece of hard black bread from the sack, took a bite, and said vaguely, "Thank you, Xiaoqing. Although you are stubborn, I know you are kind." Who is kind? Don't be too affectionate. Lin Xiaoqing's face turned red and stomped her feet backwards, but the corners of her mouth were unconsciously swelling. She hesitated for a moment, but finally didn't leave. She sat on the broken stool beside her and curled her lips. Say, what's the trick you made on the stage today? I haven't heard of any burning reaction. Zihao chewed the bread, his eyes lit up, and he stood up. Do you really want to know? Then I have to give you some good science. Fireball art, to put it bluntly, is chemical reaction. There's aerobic energy in the air. When it comes to combustible substances, such as dry grass, it will produce heat and light and form flames after it is burned. In addition, the force I throw out becomes the fireball you see. To put it simply, this is not magic, but science. Lin Xiaoqing was stunned for a moment and then returned to her senses for a while, rolled her eyes. Science? What's the thing? It sounds like you're talking nonsense. Our magicians chant spells, relying on magic. What's the relationship with what oxygen you say? Magic? That thing is probably your misunderstanding of energy. Zihao continued to explain. I guess when you chant the mantra, you may have accidentally changed the surrounding environment, such as concentrating a certain substance or triggering a certain reaction. The mantra is just a form, and the real effect is still a scientific phenomenon. Tisk, nonsense. I don't believe it. Lin Xiaoqing was dissatisfied with her mouth, and there was a flash of curiosity in her eyes. She decided to do it and suddenly asked, then what are you going to do? Today, Wang Lei, that guy, obviously didn't like you, and I guess he wouldn't let you go. When Zihao mentioned Wang Lei, his eyes sank. He put down the bread and said seriously, don't like me? Then come and give it up. I heard that there will be a magic competition in the village next month, and all the young magicians can participate, and they will win and have a prize. I plan to register and use my scientific magic to prove myself, so that those who look down on me will shut their mouths. What? Magic competition? Are you crazy? Lin Xiaoqing widened her eyes, as if she heard some Tianfangyi fish. That is the annual event in the village. All the magicians with real skills are participating. You are just half-baked, and you don't even recite the regular curse. Isn't you seeking death? Looking for death? How do you know if you don't try? Zihao grinned and full of confidence. Besides, I have science. What are you afraid of? Xiaoqing, are you not my apprentice? Then we will work with me to ensure the whole scene is astonished. I get acquainted with you. I think beautifully. Lin Xiaoqing was furious. Her face was as red as an apple. I don't want to go with a team of waste firewood and lose people's eyes. Oh, then you don't want to win the prize? I heard that the champions can get a magic crystal, so you have bought a lot of magic books. Zihao deliberately cheered her up, and her language was full of hype. Lin Xiaoqing was stunned, her eyes clearly flashed, but she still said hard, magic crystal? Humph, I don't care. But since you are my responsibility, I will accompany you so that you won't be frustrated alone and get tired of me. Okay, that's all. Zihao clapped his hands and smiled with great smile. Xiaoqing, we are the best photographer. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. Best photo shoot? Less stinking and beautiful. Lin Xiaoqing snorted, turned around and left, but before leaving, she still said, come to the training ground tomorrow morning, don't miss it. Otherwise I won't care about you. Looking at her bulging back, Zihao couldn't help laughing. This girl is so rude about her, but she is softer in her heart. He looked down at the lighter in his hand and thought to himself, magical game is indeed a good opportunity. Not only can you prove yourself, but you can also learn more about the magic rules of this world. Next, we have to prepare well and give those magicians a science shock. The next morning, when Zihao came to the training ground at the village, Lin Xiaoqing was already waiting there. She was wearing a clean blue robe and holding a long wooden stick in her hand. When she saw Zihao, she rolled her eyes. Yuan Chai, do you really dare to come? I thought you bragged last night and were so worried today. How? It doesn't exist. Zihao walked over with a smile, took out a few small bottles from his pocket, and shook them. I stayed up late last night and prepared something good. Today we will practice the training first and try my new invention. New invention? What kind of unreliable thing? Lin Xiaoqing looked suspicious, but she still came over and couldn't hide her curiosity in her eyes. Zihao grinned and opened one of the small bottles, with some white powder inside it. He explained, this is the oxidation produced by the iron craftsmen in the village. When it comes to water, it will heat up and can quickly create high temperatures. And this is the stone I rolled from the river. After grinding it, I folded a little charcoal powder to serve as ignition. We don't practice fireball surgery today, try other things, such as ice cream. Ice craftsman? Lin Xiaoqing's eyes were glaring, as if she had heard some Tianfangyi fish. What are you kidding? Ice craftsman is an intermediate magic, and I don't know. Can you make it with a piece of firewood? Will you know if you try? Zihao blinked and started to squeeze on the ground. He found an old iron basin, poured some water into it, then poured a little liquid out of another bottle, stirred it, and muttered in his mouth, ice basin, to put it bluntly, it is a low-temperature condensation phenomenon. When the temperature is reduced, the moisture will cause ice to form an ice layer. This thing is called liquid nitrogen. Although it is not real liquid nitrogen, I simulated it with the materials in the village, and the effect is almost the same. What's the liquid? I haven't heard it. Lin Xiaoqing curled her lips and complained, but she still couldn't help but look closer. After a few seconds, the water surface in the iron basin began to frost and soon turned into a small piece of ice. Although it was not perfect, it was indeed the effect of the ice basin. Is this really an ice art? Lin Xiaoqing was stunned. She reached out and touched the ice surface, and she was shocked to make her turn back. How did you do it? You didn't chant the spell and use magic, why did you stop it? It's all said, it's science. Zihao clapped his hands proudly. When the temperature is low to a certain extent, the water will naturally cause ice. The principle of this thing is simple, but if used well, it will be more awesome than your ice art. At that time, we will catch them off guard by this. TSK, what science is it? Isn't it just an incorrect magic? Lin Shaoqing said, disgusted, and her eyes were full of surprise. She suddenly moved and said with a bad smile, "Hey, waste firewood, let's practice and cooperate. I use fireball techniques, you use this ice sauna to see if you can make any difference." "Okay, let's try." Zihao pointed at the head and the two of them started to have a test. Lin Shaoqing recited a few spells and threw out a small fireball. Zihao quickly sprayed a cold air with his own cold air device. As a result, the fireball just flew into the air and was surrounded by cold air, extinguishing in an instant, leaving a small group of white fogs, like smoke scattering. Ah, what's the case? This move is called fire and ice restraint, which can definitely scare people. Zihao smiled so hard that he couldn't hold his mouth. Fire-ice incompatible? What a broken name, it's so dirt-free. Lin Shaoqing rolled her eyes, but couldn't help laughing, but the effect is really good. Wu Chai, why is your brain so evil? Evil gate? Is this called wisdom good? Zihao deliberately looked proud. Shi Qing, let's try again, and it may be possible to create ice and fire two heavens. Ice and fire? Puff, your melody is so sarcastic. Lin Shaoqing smiled so hard that she slapped her thighs, but she still cooperated to prepare for the next fireball technique. The two of them were flirting with each other on the training ground for a long time. Although they kept laughing, their cooperation became more and more tacit. At this moment, a dissonant voice suddenly came. "Humph, Wu Chai is really leisurely. Have you ever played Every Family here?" Zihao and Lin Shaoqing turned around at the same time, only seeing Wang Lei walking with a few followers. He was wearing a purple robe and holding a stone-clad staff in his hand, all of which were ridiculous. "Wang Lei, what are you here to fuck me?" Zihao browed. This guy didn't have a good intention at first glance. "What are you doing? I heard that you registered for participating in the Magic Championship. I came to see what kind of flowers you can do with this waste." Wang Lei sneered, his eyes swept over the iron basin and bottle on the ground, and said contemptuously, "Just like these broken things, and want to win the competition? Make a dream. Broken stuff? Then you try it, don't be squinted." Zihao did not show any weakness and slapped his chin. "Okay, since you are seeking death, I will give you my best." Wang Lei snorted coldly, raised his hand and slapped it. A huge fireball appeared in the air and smashed it straight towards Zihao, with a shocking speed. "Be careful." Lin Shaoqing was shocked and subconsciously wanted to hold it with a wooden stick, but Zihao reacted faster and quickly grabbed the self-made cold device, which emitted a cold air to the fireball. The fireball quickly shrank in the cold air, and finally extinguished with a pop, leaving only a group of white fogs scattered. What? Wang Lei's eyes were glaring, and he obviously did not expect that his fireball technique would be easily resolved. He gritted his teeth and said angrily, cheering crazy skills. "If you have the ability, take me one more move." "Come on, who are afraid of who?" Zihao grinned, quickly adjusted the device, and was ready to welcome the next wave of attacks. Although Lin Shaoqing next to him didn't say anything, she had already stood silently on his side, holding a wooden stick in her hand, and preparing for support at any time. Wang Lei saw the situation and his face became even more difficult to see. He snorted coldly, raised his hand and threw out a larger fireball. At the same time, he recited a few spells in a low voice, and there was a layer of wind blade around the fireball, which was more than twice as powerful as it was. "Wan Chai, let's see how you hide." Wang Lei sneered proudly, as if he had seen Zihao's misfortune. But Zihao was not panicked. He quickly winked at Lin Shaoqing and said in a low voice, "Shiqing, hand the fireball to me, come wind blade, let's cooperate and give him a icy storm." Ice, wind and rain? I'm sorry, tone again, I'm not sorry. Lin Xiaoqing complained, but he quickly agreed and recited a simple protection spell to create a thin wind wall to try to weaken the power of the wind blade. At the same time, Zihao used the cold air device to spray out the cold air with all his strength, directly forming the fireball into an ice hockey, smashing the ground to the ground, and breaking it into ice slag. How is this possible? Wang Lei was stunned for a moment, and the followings were also stunned, as if they had seen a ghost. Young Master Wang Lei, what's going on? My broken stuff is okay, right? Zihao clapped his hands, his lingering was full of hype. You wait for me. In the magic competition, I will make you regret today's little cleverness. Wang Lei gritted his teeth, glared at Zihao fiercely, and left in shame with his follower. Looking at Wang Lei's back as he left, Lin Xiaoqing couldn't help laughing. Haha, Wu Chai, you are so good. Just that moment, Wang Lei's face turned green. It's so unreasonable to be green. Anyway, I'll make him greener than the game. Zihao grinned and turned to Lin Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing, thank you today. Although you don't say it, I know you've just helped you. Help? Tell me, don't be too sentimental. I just don't want to see you be burned into charcoal. Lin Xiaoqing's face turned red and turned her head, but the smile on the corner of her mouth could not be hidden. In the next few days, Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing strengthened their training and became more and more tacit in cooperation. Zihao also made several small inventions with the materials from the village, such as the mist fog that can create smoke, and the energy drink that can enhance strength in a short time. Although the name sounds very good, the effect is indeed good. Although Lin Xiaoqing always complained about his unfair magic, she actively participated in every experiment and made some suggestions from time to time. Finally, the day of the magic championship has arrived. There are crowds of people on the building in the middle of the village, and young magicians from various villages are ready to show their skills. Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing stood in the team. Although they were the shabby clothes, they were full of energy. Wait, are you tight? Lin Xiaoqing asked in a low voice, still the disgusting expression on her mouth, but there was a little concern in her eyes. First, it doesn't exist. Zihao grinned and patted the small bag on his waist. With my scientific magic here, no one is afraid. Tisk, brag. Lin Xiaoqing snorted, but didn't say anything, just stood closer to him silently. The competition began quickly, and the first round was a single-person fight. Zihao faced a magician from the village. As soon as the other party came up, he threw out an ice fry and tried to put Zihao fry in place. But Zihao was ready to take out his cold device quickly and sprayed a stronger air of cold air in reverse, directly shattering the other party's ice layer, and even smoothly slapping the opponent's double foot. What? What kind of magic is this? The opponent was stunned and couldn't move, so he could only recognize it. What he just used wasn't a spell, right? What's that thing? Zihao clapped his hands and explained calmly, as ice crafts, it means low-temperature condensation. My device can instantly reduce the temperature, which is much faster than you chanting mantras. His words attracted more discussions. Although many people don't understand it, they are all curious about his new magic. In the next few rounds of competitions, Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing fought together. With scientific magic and tacit cooperation, they won a lot of praise along the way. Especially their ice and fire two heavens combination skills have become the highlight of the competition, and every time they are used, they can attract a lot of surprise. But just as they were about to welcome the last round of challenge, Wang Lei suddenly stood up from the appraisal seat and sneered, Zihao, your performance is indeed unexpected. However, the competition is too difficult to truly test your strength. I propose to add a special challenge, which will be designed by me to match you and your young follower. If you win, I admit that your magic is qualified to gain a foothold. If you lose, you will be rolled out of the village and never mention your ridiculous science again. The whole scene was quiet for a moment, and everyone looked at Zihao, waiting for his response. Excellent challenge. Okay, come and give it up. Zihao pointed his head without hesitation, and a sense of war ignited in his eyes. Wang Lei, don't regret it. Repent? Humph, I'm afraid you won't even cry at that time. Wang Lei sneered, turned around and walked towards the center of the venue, and began to arrange the content of the challenge. Lin Xiaoqing muttered in a low voice, Yuan Chai, this guy must be unhappy. Are you really sure? Sure? Just try it. Zihao grinned and patted her on the shoulder, don't worry, with you by my side, we have no obstacles that we can't get through. Who is with you? Don't be too affectionate. Lin Xiaoqing turned her face and turned her head, but she couldn't help but hold the wooden stick tightly, her eyes full of determination. The number of words in this chapter, about 3,800 words. The atmosphere on the square was as hot as a burning pot, and the villagers were discussing and looking forward in curiosity. The magic competition has been held to the last round. The combination of Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing has won a lot of praise through scientific magic and tacit cooperation. Now, Wang Lei's self-designed special challenge has attracted everyone's attention. Yuan Chai, don't drag my back. I don't want to let go with you. Lin Xiaoqing stood beside Zihao, still with the disgusting temperament on her mouth, but she was holding a wooden stick tightly in her hands, and a tight slit in her eyes. Xiaoqing, don't worry, I'm here, I can't destroy anyone. Zihao grinned and patted the small bag around his waist, containing various small inventions he made in the past few days. Although he was relaxed, he also knew in his heart that Wang Lei would definitely not have any simple challenge. In the center of the venue, Wang Lei had already arranged a huge magical ambient, and the surroundings were filled with complex runes, scattering blue light. He turned over and looked at Zihao arrogantly with his face, and a sneered, Huan Chai, the rules for the challenge in this field are very simple. I will attack you with thunder. If you can survive 3 waves of attacks, even if you win. If you can't hold it, then roll out of the village and don't mention your ridiculous science. Thunder art? Lin Xiaoqing heard it, her face changed for a while, and she said to Zihao in a low voice, Hey, Wu Chai, this is high-level magic, it is amazing. Are you really sure? Don't be chopped into coke when you are tired, I'll go crazy with you. Coke? It doesn't exist. Zihao smiled lightly on the surface, and flew quickly in his brain. Thunder art, which sounds like power magic, should be similar to that of a static electric discharge. If you can figure out the specific mechanism, you may find a solution. He lowered his head and glanced at his small bag, with a hint of confidence in his eyes. Stop talking, let's start. Wang Lei snorted coldly, raised his hand and slapped it. The blue light surrounding the magic instantly gathered into a thick thunder, and with a harsh sizzling sound, he slashed towards Zihao straight. Be careful. Lin Xiaoqing was shocked, and she realized that she had put on the wooden stick, recited a protective spell, and tried to create a thin wind wall to put it in front. But the power of the thunder electric power was far beyond her imagination. The wind wall was shattered as soon as it was formed. The lightning went away and went straight to Zihao. Bottle, is it so powerful? Zihao didn't expect the speed and power of this thunder technique to be so awesome. He quickly rolled to the side and reluctantly avoided the first shot, but his clothes were still rubbed by the light, burning a small hole, and his hair was also raised, like a thorn. Waste, that's all you can do? You can hide for the first time, see how you hide for the second time. Wang Lei laughed loudly, and with a change of hand, 2 thunder and lightning were condensed from the magic ambus again, which was even more rude than just now, and came towards Zihao in a clamping and knocking force. The audience held their breath, and some even started to mutter, this waste is over, Wang Lei's thunder technique is famous for being ruthless. It seems that his scientific magic is just a fool to scare the child. When he encounters a real magician, he still has to kneel down. Zihao gritted his teeth and analyzed wildly in his brain, thunder and electricity, to put it bluntly, is the phenomenon formed by the discharge of high-pressure current in the air. Since it is a current, it will follow the electromechanical rules, such as, the conductor attracts current. Suddenly, he took out a piece of iron and a few copper wires from his small bag, all of which were the materials he had made from the iron craftsman before. Xiaoqing, help me delay. Zihao shouted, quickly squatted down and started to assemble, and quickly rolled the copper wire on the iron with his fingers, trying to make a simple lightning protection device. Depend? TSK, I don't want to help you. Lin Xiaoqing said dismissed, but she still responded quickly, and threw out a fireball on the wooden stick to try to interfere with the thunder and electric carriage. Although the fireball could not completely block the thunder, it left one of them deviated from the direction and gave Zihao some time. Just this little trick, I want to hit my thundercraft. It's ridiculous. Wang Lei sneered, his hand changed again, and the third wave of thunders had begun to be moistened. This time, the light gathered in the magical ambus was even more terrifying than the previous 2 times. The blue lightning almost illuminated the entire arena. Don't waste, hurry up. I don't want to be chopped into charcoal. Lin Xiaoqing stomped her feet in an anxious mood, and she still had the same rhetoric on her lips, but her eyes were filled with grief. It's done. Zihao finally completed the easy lightning protection device in his hand, a wire stuck to the ground, with a copper wire on the top and a large stone head connected to the ground at the other end. He quickly stood up, lifted the iron high, and shouted in the direction where the lightning came, "Come on, chop me. Is this guy crazy? Put a broken iron stick to look for a chop?" The audience in the audience was stunned. Even Lin Xiaoqing couldn't help but complain, "Hey, Wu Chai, your brain was hit by lightning, right? Are you trying to kill yourself or what? Self-kill? No, this is called science." Zihao grinned, his eyes full of confidence. At this moment, the third wave of lightning telegraph slashed down, and the huge current rushed straight to Zihao. But to everyone's surprise, the lightning telegraph did not hit him directly, but was attracted by the iron, and led to the copper wire into the ground, causing a deep steel sound, and a small pit was blown out of the ground, but Zihao had no hair. The whole scene was quiet for a moment, and everyone was stunned, as if they had seen a ghost. How is this possible? My thunder technique was actually stopped. Wang Lei's face turned blue in an instant, his eyes filled with incredible feelings. Young Master Wang Lei, how is this? My cracked rod is still okay, right? Zihao clapped his hands and deliberately said in a sarcastic manner, "Thunder art, to put it bluntly, it is a static discharge, and high-pressure current is looking for the conductor to release energy in the air. My iron and copper silk are simple lightning protection pins that lead your thunder into the ground. To put it simply, your magic has been cracked by my science again. What kind of static electricity is released? What lightning protection pin? Nonsense." Wang Lei's face was so angry that he was distorted, but he couldn't find a reason to respond, so he could only grit his teeth and stare at Zihao. "Ah, Wu Chai, why is your brain so evil? Even thunder art can be used." Lin Xiaoqing finally couldn't help laughing, but she still had the arrogant expression on her lips. "But I can tell you, I don't want to learn such a broken thing. That is, Wu Chai can come up with such an inappropriate trick. Shi Qing, are you yelling at me or snatching me?" Zihao shook his head helplessly, but his eyes were filled with a smile. He turned to Wang Lei, raised his eyebrows and said, "Wang Lei, I have taken all 3 waves of attacks from thunder. Should I win now? Please?" "Humph, don't be too proud too early." Wang Lei gritted his teeth and cried, obviously unwilling to accept it. His hands suddenly changed, and a ray of thunder condensed from the magic ambus again. This time, it was not attacking Zihao, but heading straight for a huge stone target beside him. The thunder and electric shock hit the stone target, and the stone target was instantly blown into pieces, and the debris scattered, carrying the light towards Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing. "Be careful, this guy is playing tricks." Lin Xiaoqing was shocked and quickly pulled her stick to create a wind wall, but there were too many fragments and the wind wall could not be held back. Zihao's eyes sank, and he quickly took out a self-made mist small fog from his small bag. This is a simple smoke device he made with the materials from the village. He threw it suddenly, and the mist exploded on the ground, and the dense white mist instantly covered the ground, covering everyone's visual line. At the same time, he pulled Lin Xiaoqing to the side and avoided most of the debris. Ahem, what the hell is this? Wang Lei coughed so hard that he was so angry that his eyes were completely blocked, and even the magic weapon could not be accurately controlled. The lightning and electric fire slashed in the air, and it was impossible to hurt Zihao at all. Wang Lei, you're playing? Sorry, I'm better at playing than you. Zihao pulled out of the smoke, holding another small device in his hand. This is his electric stick made of copper wire and simple materials. Although it is not very powerful, it can make people feel numb for a moment. He quickly approached Wang Lei, and while the other party had not reacted, he poked lightly, and a faint current flowed over the copper wire. Wang Lei was numb and stumbled back a few steps, almost falling down. Ha ha ha. The audience in the audience finally couldn't help but burst into laughter, and some even slapped their thighs with laughter. Young Master Wang Lei was dancing by the wasteland. This is too much. Why is this evil gate of Wuchai's trick? Even thunder can reverse it. Wang Lei's face was so blue that he was almost vomiting blood, but he had completely lost his ability to fight and could only grit his teeth and stare at Zihao. You wait for me. This is not over. It's not over? Okay, I'll be with you anytime. Zihao slapped his shoulders, clapped his hands calmly, turned around and walked towards Lin Xiaoqing, grinning. Xiaoqing, what's going on? We're so unsuccessful in this cooperation, right? Absolutely. Tell me, don't be so stinky. I'm not trying to cooperate with you. I just don't want to see you being chopped to death and throw my face away. Lin Xiaoqing snorted and turned her head, but the smile on the corner of her mouth could not be hidden. She murmured in a low voice, but, Wu Chai, you are really interesting in this science. Interesting? That's not. Zihao was happy. He wanted to talk about it for a few more words. The host on the venue had already announced loudly, the special challenge is over, Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing are winning. They will win the championship of this magic competition and win the Magic Crystal Award. The whole scene suddenly burst into hot palms and cries, and many people began to shout Battle of Firewood. Several young magicians even came over and asked Zihao curiously, how did you do that lightning guard? Can you teach us? Zihao smiled and slapped his hand, explaining a few simple sentences, but he felt in his heart that this victory was just the beginning. He could feel that the magic of this world is far more than what he sees on the surface, and his performance today has undoubtedly attracted more people's attention. After the competition, Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing won the prize, a small bag of magic crystal stones flashing with glimmer. The two returned to the small wooden house beside the village. Zihao had crystals on one side and said, Xi-Qing, these magic crystals can enhance their magic power. You can use them. I don't need this thing when I learn magic in this scientific way. What? Give it to me? Cut it, I don't care about your broken stone. Lin Xiaoqing said dismissed, but she actually took a few blocks, her eyes full of unconsciousness. She decided to the end and suddenly asked, Hey, Wu Chai, what's the static discharge you said on the scene today? What's going on? Can you really explain thunder? Of course. Zihao's eyes lit up, and he became energetic, and began to give her popular science. Thunder, to put it bluntly, the charge in the air is gathered by the magical agglomeration, forming a high-pressure current, and then discharged to form lightning. This is similar to the principle of flashing on the earth, but you use spells and magical agglomerations to control the flow of charge. My lightning arrestor uses the principle of current to guide the lightning to the ground first. What charge? What conductor? I'm so big when I hear it. Lin Xiaoqing rolled her eyes and complained, You can't say that normal people can understand it? It must be like a heavenly book. Haha, okay, to put it simply, my iron rod is more eye-catching than Wang Lei's thunder, so the lightning rod doesn't hit me, I'll go to the iron rod. Zihao deliberately said in a tingling manner, and even compared the exclamation hand. Eyes catching? Puff, your sarcastic sarcasm is so crooked. Lin Xiaoqing smiled and slapped the table, but her eyes were curious. But, Wu Chai, why is your brain so evil? Even thunder can be cracked. If you encounter higher-level magic again, can you also use your science to solve it? It's hard to tell, but the test is always unscathing. Zihao held his shoulders and his eyes suddenly sank. He looked down at the magic crystal in his hand and murmured, "Shi Qing, do you think there seems to be something unfavorable hidden behind these magic?" "Not right? What does it mean?" I always think that magic and science are more closely related than I thought." Zihao continued, "The magical atmospheres that Wang Lei used today, the flow of runes and electricity, are like some precise circuit designs. Moreover, the energy emitted by magic crystal stone is very similar to that of a certain high-concentration chemical energy. Are these things really just a coincidence? Circuit? Chemical energy? Come again." Lin Shaoqing helped the quota helplessly, but couldn't help asking, "Then do you think, what's the secret behind this?" "Secret? I don't know, but I plan to find out." Zihao's eyes were fixed and he tightened the magic crystal in his hand. "Shaoqing, today's competition made me determine two things. First, my scientific magic can stand firm in this world. Second, the source of magic is likely to be related to scientific experiments. I have to figure out how the magic on this vast land comes from. Find it clearly? Wu Chai, don't come around. The magic on this vast land is an inviolable thing for the gods. I don't care about you when you get into trouble." Lin Shaoqing said, disgusted, but her eyes were filled with grief. "Don't care? Okay, then I'll check it alone." Zihao deliberately teased her, got up and patted her clothes. "But, Shaoqing, if you really don't care about me, who will complain to me and help me try new inventions? Who wants to help you? Don't be too sentimental." Lin Shaoqing glared at him bulgingly, but she couldn't help but mutter, "But, if you really find something, remember to tell me. I'm either concerned about you or curious." "Ha, I understand. I will definitely satisfy Shaoqing's curiosity." Zihao smiled and pointed, and his heart had already started to calculate the next plan. He knew that today's victory was just the beginning, and the real challenge was still behind. The source of magic, the biggest secret in the mainland, is bound to become his next goal to pursue. The night is getting deeper, and the light in the cabin is swaying. Zihao sat at the table, holding a piece of magic crystal stone to observe carefully, with all kinds of guesses in his brain. Although Lin Shaoqing next to him didn't say anything, she still accompanied him silently, and occasionally glanced at him, as if she was thinking about something. The moonlight outside the window entered the house, and Zihao said in a low voice, "What secret is hidden in the magical land? No matter what it is, I will use science to uncover your face step by step." The number of words in this chapter, about 3,800 words. The night wind blew past the wooden house beside the village. Zihao sat at the table, holding a magic crystal in his hand, his eyes filled with the light of exploration. Since defeating Wang Lei in the Magic Championship, he has become more and more curious about the magic source of this world. The glimmer of light emitted by the magic crystal stone, the exquisite structure of the magic weapon, and even the current flow of the thunder art made him feel that there was a shocking secret behind the magic. "Hey, Wu Chai, what are you doing? You don't sleep in the middle of the night. Can you really want to be a scientific madman?" Lin Shaoqing pushed in, holding a bowl of hot soup in her hand, and she still had the annoying words on her mouth, but her eyes were filled with concern. "Shi Qing, you're here just in time." Zihao put down the magic crystal and grinned. "I checked the ancient books in the village and found that there was a forbidden area in the center of the mainland, which was said to be the location of the magic source. All the high-level magicians gained power from there, but I always think that this place is not simple. Let's go and tent, how is it?" "Forbidden land?" Lin Shaoqing heard it, her eyes glared round, and the soup bowl in her hand almost fell to the ground. "You are crazy. That place is the most dangerous land in the mainland, and even the precious tribe Wang Lei dared to approach it at will. You are a waste of firewood, isn't you seeking death? Looking for death? How do you know if you don't try?" Zihao said with no scruples and indifferently, aside, "I have science, what are you afraid of? Shaoqing, are you not my best photo shoot? I will accompany me again this time, and I will definitely not disappoint you. Best photo shoot? Cut, less stinky. Lin Xiaoqing rolled her eyes, but she hesitated for a moment, and muttered, I either want to accompany you or be afraid that you will come alone and cause trouble to the village. Humph, I'll say that if something happens, I won't care about you. Okay, don't care about you, I'll feel at ease with you anyway. Zihao deliberately talked, smiling with great value. Who makes you feel at ease? Don't be too sentimental. Lin Xiaoqing's face turned red and stomped her feet, but she still started to pack up and prepare to go out with Zihao. A few days later, the two men came to the forbidden entrance in the center of the mainland. Here is a deserted valley, surrounded by mugs, and a suppressed energy wave is circulating in the air. A huge stone door stood at the entrance, with ancient runes engraved on it, emitting blue light. Waste wood, this place looks wrong at first glance, are you really going in? Lin Xiaoqing tightly gripped her staff, her voice with a trace of tremble, but still forcing an arrogant tone. I tell you, I'm not afraid, it's just that I think with your brain, you probably can't solve any secrets even if you go in. Can't solve it? That may not be certain. Zihao grinned, squatted down to carefully observe the runes on the stone door. He discovered that these runes were not carved randomly, but arranged according to some rule, like some ancient circuit diagram. He took out the small tools he carried with him and began to measure the energy flow between the runes, muttering in a low voice, this thing, no matter how you look at it, it's like an energy transmission system. What system? Again with your heavenly book. Lin Xiaoqing pouted and complained, but still couldn't help leaning over to look, her eyes full of curiosity. Simply put, this door is a mechanism, the runes are the switches for the control circuit. As long as we find the correct combination, we can open it. Zihao explained, holding a thin copper wire in his hand, beginning to probe the connection points between the runes. A few minutes later, with a boom sound, the stone door slowly opened, revealing a deep passage, from which faint energy fluctuations could be heard. It's open, it's open. Lin Xiaoqing was stunned, only coming to her senses after a while, muttering, waste wood, how is your unserious trick so weird? Weird? This is called science, okay. Zihao proudly patted his hands, stood up and walked into the passage. Come on, Xiaoqing, let's go see what secrets are hidden in this forbidden area. The inside of the passage wasn't damp, the two carefully proceeded, encountering many magic mechanisms along the way, such as suddenly erupting flame traps and lightning arrays hidden in the walls. But these mechanisms were almost no match under Zihao's scientific cracking. He used his homemade insulating rod to neutralize the lightning, used chemical reactions to create cold air to extinguish the flames, and even used the simple lever principle to crack a huge stone trap. Waste wood, your brain. I'm convinced. Lin Xiaoqing followed behind him, still complaining on her mouth, but her eyes full of admiration. But I tell you, these small mechanisms don't count for much. I heard that deep in the forbidden area there's a guardian, even senior mages don't dare to force their way in. Don't get too cocky. Guardian? Even better if it comes, just right to test my new invention. Zihao laughed, pulling out a few small bottles and a pile of copper wires from the small bag on his waist, beginning to assemble a device on the spot, muttering, this thing is called an electromagnetic pulse device, it can temporarily interfere with the energy field, might come in handy. What pulse device? Again with a bunch of things I don't understand. Lin Xiaoqing rolled her eyes, but still silently handed him tools, the two cooperating more and more tacitly. Finally, they arrived at the deepest part of the forbidden area. A huge underground cave came into view. In the center of the cave floated a massive crystal, emitting dazzling blue light, surrounded by countless tiny energy streams, like a small galaxy. Below the crystal was a complex magic array, with runes densely packed, the energy fluctuations strong enough to make one breathless. This is the source of magic? Lin Xiaoqing widened her eyes, her voice full of shock. Source? No, this is more like an energy reactor. Zihao frowned, carefully observing the crystal and the magic array. He discovered that the energy emitted by the crystal was not pure magic, but a mixture of some high-concentration electromagnetic field and chemical energy. The magic array was like a control system, converting the energy into various magic effects. Xiaoqing, I guess this thing isn't some sacred magic source at all, but a relic of ancient scientific experiments. Zihao said in a low voice, his eyes ignited with excitement. The mages on the continent have only utilized this energy, but never figured out its essence. Those nobles probably knew this long ago, so they sealed the forbidden area and monopolized the control of magic. What? Scientific experiments? Nobles monopolizing? Lin Xiaoqing listened in a daze, only reacting after a while. Waste wood. What you mean is, our magic is actually what you call science. That's right. Zihao nodded, beginning to feel around the magic array. If I'm not wrong, this crystal is an energy core. As long as we destroy it, we can break the nobles' control over magic, letting everyone equally access this power. But the problem is, this magic array has a protective system. Acting rashly might trigger an energy explosion. Explosion? Then stop right now. Lin Xiaoqing panicked, grabbing his arm. I don't want to explode into ashes with you. Don't panic, I have a way. Zihao grinned, took out the electromagnetic meter that had been installed, and began to adjust the parameters. This thing can interfere with the energy field for a short time, causing the magic to become invalid. At that time, I will use chemical solvents to corrode the support structure of the crystal to disintegrate naturally, and should be able to safely destroy the core. Why? Wu Chai, don't fool me with should. Lin Xiaoqing complained, but she still stood behind him silently, holding a wooden stick in her hand and preparing for support at any time. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from the entrance of the cave. Zihao, do you really dare to come to the forbidden area? It seems that I still underestimate your burden. The two of them turned suddenly, and only Wang Lei was seen walking in with a few magicians in black robe. He held a stone-embedded staff, his face full of smiles. Do you think that by cracking a few small connections, you can move the core of this forbidden area? Ridiculous. The secret of this place belongs to our precious tribe. Are you a waste of firewood, and you are also worthy of your connection? Wang Lei. Lin Xiaoqing was shocked, subconsciously caught her in front of Zihao, and said angrily, why are you, your souls, not enough? You are still in the competition. Are you here to find fault again? Look for trouble? No, I'm here to clean up the garbage. Wang Lei sneered and raised his hand to sniff. The magician behind him recited the spell at the same time. Several thunder and flames instantly rushed towards Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing, and the attack was so fierce that it was suffocating. Xingqing, protect! Zihao shouted, quickly turned on the electromagnetic circuit, and an invisible wave spread out. The current of the thunder technology was instantly interfered, deviating from the direction, and the energy of the flame technology was weakened by most of the time. At the same time, Lin Xiaoqing danced his wooden stick and created a wind wall that barely held the remaining attack. What kind of ghost thing is this? Wang Lei saw that his magic was easily resolved, and his face turned blue in an instant, and roared, Zihao, are you using your ridiculous science to get into trouble again? Today, I want to let you know how powerful the real magic is. Speaking, he took action, and a dazzling blue light burst out from his staff in his hand. A huge thunder ball appeared in the air, and headed straight for Zihao with destructive energy. At the same time, the magician behind him also increased the attack force. Flames, ice balls, wind blades, and various magical magics formed a death network. Wait, be careful. Lin Xiaoqing shouted anxiously, trying her best to create protection, but her magic was not enough to resist such multiple attacks. Xiaoqing, don't force me, give it to me. Zihao gritted his teeth, took out a few self-made miscellaneous fogs from his small bag, and threw them out suddenly. The dense white fog instantly covered the cave, covering everyone's visual line. He took the trouble to pull Lin Xiaoqing and hide behind a huge rock, quickly adjusted the power of the electromagnetic circuit, and took out a small bottle full of chemical solvents, preparing to start the energy core. Carrying the slut. Wang Lei snorted coldly, and his stick created a strong style to try to blow away the fog, but Zihao was ready for it, and while the fog had not yet completely scattered, he activated the electromagnetic fog. This time, the irrigation wave directly interfered with the energy flow of the magical atom, and the protection system around the core crystal collapsed instantly, causing a low bird to appear. No! He is destroying the core. Wang Lei finally realized Zihao's picture. His face changed drastically, and he couldn't see the fog. He took the magician straight to the core and tried to stop him. It's too late. Zihao grinned and flipped the chemical solvent to the support structure of the crystal. The solvent quickly corroded the support point, and the crystals emitted a brittle sound and cracks began to appear. At the same time, he pulled Lin Xiaoqing back quickly and shouted in a low voice, "Xiaoqing, lie down." Room. With a huge sound, the energy core collapsed and huge energy waves rolled into the entire cave. However, because Zihao interfered with the magical ambient in advance, the power of the explosion was controlled within a bearable range. Wang Lei and his men were hit by the energy wave, and they fell to the ground, their staff shattered, and the wolf was as swept like a group of soup chickens. How is this possible? Wang Lei lay on the ground, his face full of incredible, and blood was still hanging on the corner of his mouth. My magic, the secret of the noble clan, is it all over? It's over? No, this is just the beginning. Zihao patted the dust on his body and stood up calmly. Wang Lei, your magic is just a slaughtering energy of ancient scientific experiments. Your noble tribe has destroyed it, but has never really understood it. Today, I broke this shackle with science. From now on, magic is no longer a specialty of the noble tribe. You're ruining everything. Wang Lei gritted his teeth, but he had completely lost his fighting ability. He could only watch Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing walk out of the cave, leaving behind a mess in the ground. Outside the cave, the sky was bright, and the disintegration of the energy core seemed to affect the entire continent. The fog around the forbidden area began to dissipate, and the pressure in the air disappeared without any trace. Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing stood at the entrance of the valley, looking far away at the direction of the mainland, and both of them felt a little moved. Yuan Chai, have you really destroyed the magic source? Lin Xiaoqing's voice was shocked, but more admired. I originally thought that your unreasonable science can only do gadgets, but I didn't expect that you could really change the whole world. Change the world? I love this. Zihao grinned and turned to her, but, Xiaoqing, I can't do anything for you without you. Thank you, you have been dismissed all the way, but you never really let me down. Who helps you? Don't be too affectionate. Lin Xiaoqing turned her face and turned her head, but this time, her language was no longer as sharp as before, but instead she was gentle. But, Wu Chai. No, Zihao, I have to admit that you are really not simple. I used to think that magic is supreme, but you proved it is not unattainable by science. You are really harmful. Xiqing, are you expressing me? It's so strange. Zihao deliberately talked, but his heart felt warm. He looked at Lin Xiaoqing's red face and said seriously, in fact, if I can get to this point, I will have more to you. Your complaints and your support have made me transform from a waste to my current self. Xiaoqing, we will still be the best photographer in the future, how about it? Best photo shoot? Humph, please agree. Lin Xiaoqing was still arrogant, but her eyes were filled with smiles. She hesitated for a moment, finally plucked up her courage and said in a low voice, Zihao, no matter what you fuck in the future, I will be with you. It's not because of responsibility, nor because of curiosity, it's because I want to be with you. Zihao was stunned, and immediately laughed out loud, and said, okay, then let's say it. Xiaoqing, let's bring science to this world together so that everyone can create their own magic in their own way. The collapse of the energy core has completely changed the pattern of the magical mainland. The imperfection of magic by the noble clan was broken, and the magicians who were originally above had to face a new fact: magic is not a sacred, but an energy that can be scientifically explained and mastered. After Zihao and Lin Xiaoqing returned to the village, they began to impart scientific knowledge to residents in the mainland. From the most basic principles of physics and chemistry to how to use simple materials to create magic effects, he shared everything without reservation. At first, many people sneered at science and thought it was just Wu Chai's nonsense. But when they saw with their eyes that Zihao used simple chemical reactions to create fireball art, crack thunder art with electromechanical principles, and even used leverage and sliding wheels to build a more efficient irrigation system in the village, everyone was shocked. Yen Chai. No, Master Zihao, your science is so amazing. An old villager held Zihao's hand, all his face full of gratitude. We used to think that magic was the master of the noble clan, but you let us ordinary people use our own hands to create miracles. Miracle? No, this is just the power of science. Zihao smiled and slammed his head, continuing to teach a group of children how to make simple lighters. As long as you are willing to learn, science can make everyone become their own magician. Lin Xiaoqing stood aside, looked at Zihao's busy figure, and the corners of her mouth were unconsciously waving. She walked over and deliberately complained, "Hey, Master Zihao, now the whole world is passing on your name, saying that you are a legendary figure who changed the world. Why are you so inappropriate in playing with these broken things with a group of kids every day? Broken stuff? Xiaoqing, this is not broken stuff, this is the hope of the future." Zihao raised his head and said seriously, "I want everyone to understand that science is not a specialist of the noble tribe, nor is it the right of a magician. It belongs to everyone, and as long as they are willing to move their brains, they can change their own destiny. TSK, we're starting to tell the big truth again." Lin Xiaoqing rolled her eyes, but her eyes were filled with gentleness. She whispered, "But, Zihao, I have to say, you really did it. From a waste of firewood to the current legend of the whole mainland. I am very proud to be with you all the way." "A pride? Xiaoqing, I've remembered this." Zihao stood up with a smile and patted her on the shoulder. "Let's go, we have a lot of things to do. I plan to build a scientific school to spread more knowledge. What about you, do you want to be my first assistant?" "Assistant? Humph, please agree. Okay, we are a double practitioner of magic science, we are invincible." Zihao laughed and pulled her towards the center of the village. Under the sunset, the backs of the two people gradually stretched, and their laughter echoed in the air. At the same time, news about Wang Lei is also spread throughout the country. As a former magical genius, he became a laughingstock after the Forbidden War. Not only did he lose control of magic, but he was also despised by the residents of the mainland for trying to stop Zihao. Some people say that he is hiding in a remote village now, muttering all day long that science is strange and he can no longer make any waves. A few years later, the magic mainland has completely changed. The scientific schools created by Zihao are everywhere, and ordinary people can also create various magic effects by learning science. The once noble tribe had to put down his figure and explore new knowledge with ordinary people. Magic and science finally merged into one with Zihao's efforts and became a dual force to promote the progress of the mainland. Zihao stood on the high platform of the school and watched a group of young students below use simple materials to create a small fireball. He felt relieved. He went from a wasteland that traveled through time to a legendary figure who has now changed the world. Although it was full of challenges, it also allowed him to find his own value. "Xiqing, I said I wanted to use science to change the world, but you laughed at me for thinking that the sky was open. How about it? Do you believe it now?" Zihao turned his head and talked to Lin Xiaoqing beside him. "Believe? Humph, please believe it." Lin Xiaoqing was still arrogant, but her eyes were filled with warmth. "Zihao, this world has indeed become better because of you. And I have also found my true self because of you." The two of them smiled at each other, and the fate of the sun was on them, as if they had put a perfect sentence on this legendary painting. From waste to legend, Zihao changed everything with science, and his story will be forever spread in every corner of the magical land. The number of words in this chapter, about 3,800 words.